A lot of you out there have been writing in and asking for more vegetarian dishes, so I have the perfect one for you. This is my mushroom and lentil chili. So because I'm making a big batch, I want to use a large pot for this. This one's fantastic, and we're going to pop that onto a high heat. Now I know that this is hot when the thermo signal is a solid red, so we'll just let that heat up. In the meantime, we'll prepare our vegetables. So some onion, we'll need half an onion for this. The rest we're going to be using for a garnish later, and we're just going to finely dice it. We want it to be roughly the same size as our lentils, so not chunky at all. We want it all to sort of melt into each other. So we'll just finely chop that. All right, the thermo signal is solid red, so let's add a good splash of extra virgin olive oil, and we'll add our half onion. It's a good sizzle. 1 red capsicum, and I've also finely diced it. And we'll give that a stir and just allow it to soften and start to fry. Already smells fantastic. Now I want a good hit of garlic in this, so 3 cloves of garlic. I like to smash it with my knife first. And then we'll finally chop it. Excellent. I'm also going to add some coriander. Now, I'm not going to add the leaves yet. That's going to be for the garnish, but there's loads of flavour in the coriander root and the coriander stalk. So I want to use that now. We'll just cut that off. And again, we're going to finely chop this with our garlic. Make sure when you're using the coriander stalks and root to give them a very good wash, because they grow in quite sandy soil. They do tend to hold on to that soil, so give it a really good wash. We don't want it to be gritty at all. So chop that together, and then we'll add this big mound of flavour into our pot. Now for some spice, some ground coriander and some cumin, even amounts. And another ingredient that you must add to this is some chipotle in adobo sauce. This is essentially jalapenos that have been dried and smoked. So I've just used about a tablespoon. It does have a kick to it, so depending on your palate, have a taste first and see how much to add. I like 1 tablespoon worth, so in it goes. If you can't find chipotle in adobo sauce, don't worry at all. You can substitute it by mixing together some chili flakes with some smoked paprika, and then just make a slurry with those spices with a hint of vinegar. That also works a treat. Now for our mushrooms. Now the mushrooms and the lentils are the replacement for the meat in this recipe. So we're going to use a good handful of button mushrooms. You can use a mixture if you like. And we're just going to roughly chop these into small pieces. Mushrooms, they're like sponges, so they're going to absorb all of that flavour, and they're also going to disintegrate quite a lot too. Okay. Great. In they go. We'll just coat them in that yummy spiced oil. So now we're really building on our flavours, so we can add the core ingredient here, which is our lentils. 1 cup of pui lentils. Now these are green lentils. I love these particular lentils because they hold their shape. In they go. The best thing about lentils is you don't have to soak them beforehand. They take about half an hour to cook, so it is a really great substitute for meat. Next up, we need some tomatoes, so some crushed tomatoes, 1 can, 400 grams. Just going to use some of my stock here to clean out my can. Don't want to waste any of that tomato. To balance this out, some vinegar. So white vinegar, a couple of teaspoons, and some sugar. Some freshly cracked pepper. It does take a lot of liquid, so we want about 1 litre of vegetable stock for this. Don't worry, it looks like quite a lot, but it does cook down and the lentils will absorb all that yummy liquid. Now we pop the lid on, turn it down, and this is going to cook for about 45 minutes. You just want this to be thick and rich, and of course you want those lentils to be tender. Then we'll add some salt. Now, while that's cooking, let's get on to a really quick pickle to garnish our lentil stew. So just the other half of the onion, I'm going to take the core out. So just a V cut there, and then finely slice it. Good. And we'll just separate the onion like so. We'll pop that into a bowl, and I'm just using some salt for this, but you could add some sugar to it and some vinegar if you want that sort of balanced flavour there. So salt, that's just going to take the harshness out of the onions and make them slightly sweeter. So we're just going to squish them in our hands. By doing that, you're really activating the moisture in it, and they will soften much faster. And that's all we need to do. We'll pop that to the side, wait for the lentils to cook, and then we can serve this. Okay, these lentils are cooked. They've been cooking for about 45 minutes, nice and tender, thick and rich, smells so good. And I've just placed my pita bread on a grill. I like to serve it with pita bread. Now, we haven't salted our lentils, so it's time to salt them. A generous pinch of salt, one more for good luck. And we'll just stir that through. Excellent. Okay, let's plate this up. I'm gonna get a ladle. I want a generous amount of this chilli, a few ladlefuls. Just pop that down. And then this is some labneh that I made ahead of time. You can just put a dollop of yogurt, but essentially labneh is getting your yogurt, placing it in a muslin cloth like this, and allowing it to strain in the fridge overnight. And you'll see this almost cheese-like consistency from our yogurt. Look at it, see how thick it is? Just delightful, particularly served with this because it's going to hold its shape. I'll just pop that in the middle. These onions, they're lovely and soft. I'm going to add quite a lot of the onions. I love that pop of colour over the top. And then our herbs. We have the coriander, but also some fresh mint with this. We'll just scatter that over the top. Some freshly cracked pepper. And then to tie it all together, I love the freshness of extra virgin olive oil right at the end to finish it off. And let's not forget that pita bread. I'm just going to take it off the grill at the very last minute so it stays piping hot. I'm going to cut that into triangles. And let's just add 2 on the side here. Oh, pretty happy with that. It's meaty, it's hearty without the meat. You know, it's good to have a meatless Monday or any day of the week. You're going to love this, and even if you're not vegetarian, you're also going to love this. It is delightful.